It's another Raw video from your favorite YouTube scout, Draft Raw Authentic. And today we're going to talk about the top corners in the 2019 NFL Draft. Now, this year, when it comes to these top guys, when it comes to the cornerbacks, period, there really isn't the true shutdown guy. There really isn't the top guy. There is a group of about 3 corners that are kind of switching on and off of who's the best corner, who's the top corner. It's more about what teams value and what scheme do they run. And that's how you're going to get maybe who are the top corners or who is the top corner. And like I said, also, there isn't that true shutdown type of guy. It wasn't like last year where you had like a Mike Hughes or a Jair Alexander or even a Denzel Ward that had this amazing coverage abilities from those 3 guys that kind of really put themselves as top corners and possible shutdown corners within the NFL. And this year, it's a bunch of guys. A lot of these guys, they have really good points, and then they have really weak points that it's a little alarming sometimes when it comes to certain players. But some guys, you feel as though they can get over it. But when it comes to the first 3 guys, if you listen to the media scouts, they're pretty much right when it comes to most of these 3 guys. I think Byron Murphy is the top corner. His natural ball skills and his natural ability, his instincts, and what he does in zone coverage is better than any corner in this draft. And his zone coverage ability is better than a lot of these guys' man coverage ability, which is considered to be a trait for a shutdown type of corner. So with him, his zone coverage ability being that greater than guys with good or great man coverage ability, it's kind of like, this is why there isn't a consensus top corner, because you don't expect a guy like him, who is mainly a zone coverage, because of scheme that they played in Washington, to be the top corner. Now, it's not to say that he can't play in man-to-man coverage. The thing is that he played a lot more zone coverage than he did man. So it's up in the air. It's here, there. It's pretty much how you're going to see it. To me, with his skill set, with what he does as a player, is better than any corner in this draft. His tackling ability, the ball skills, and his zone coverage ability. We don't know about his man coverage ability, but looking at the tape, he could possibly play man coverage. But the problem is that to know if he's a shutdown corner is a little bit iffy. The next corner on the list is obviously Greedy Williams from LSU. Is another big-time corner, press man type of corner. Straight up just press man. He has the feet, he has the hips, he has the speed. He has all the tools that you want in a shutdown corner. He just doesn't tackle. And you don't really know how instinctive or his zone coverage. And you wonder about does he love to play football? That's what you wonder about when it comes to a guy like him. But overall, if he was a more stickier, better man cover corner that could tackle, he would be the number 1 guy and be the complete shutdown that everybody be looking for. But because he's not that, it lessens him as a player when it comes to the NFL. The next on the list is the 3rd guy, DeAndre Baker from Georgia. He is the one that can kind of do both. He can do zone and he can do man. And he also can be impressed. And one of his best traits is that he was able to literally shut down one side of the field. But when it comes to him, he has to press and he has to be physical, because if he doesn't get the hands on the receiver, if he's not as physical as he wants to be for a receiver, they're going to run right past him. He doesn't have the best change of direction skills. He doesn't have the best speed. He's not quick-footed. He doesn't have better hips. He doesn't have the best hips. His hips are not as good as what you saw in Byron Murphy or Greedy Williams, and his feet are definitely not as good as what you saw in Byron Murphy or Greedy Williams. So even though he can play zone and man, and he can be a press type of guy, he's more kind of he's stuck into a cover 3 type of man-to-man coverage type of situation. Something that you got with like a Richard Sherman and the Seattle Seahawks type of defense. They played a lot more cover 3 than they did man, but that's what type of defenses they're going to have to play if you have a DeAndre Baker on your team. That's what type of guy he is. So I wouldn't expect him to be picked up by like the Pittsburgh Steelers or something. But he's more of a guy that would fit a team like the Philadelphia Eagles that like running man-to-man quite a bit, or the Denver Broncos with their corners and what they had like running man-to-man. The Los Angeles Rams, they like doing that as well. So that's what you can get with DeAndre Baker. Now, let's get into some other guys. Taking all those three guys away, let's get into the guys that it's kind of up and down to where you're going to rate them. All right, so it is what it is. Let's first get into Trayvon Mullen from Clemson. Long, aggressive press corner, solid tackler, better in man than he is in zone. That's just what I saw on tape when it came to him. To me, he was the best tackling corner in this draft, and there wasn't a lot of good tackling corners in this draft. He's like I said, he's long, he's aggressive, he loves to play press, he loves to be in man. His zone coverage is not really there. That's in most zone coverage is about instinct, so he doesn't show as much instincts in being able to see stuff, being able to read routes. But if you put him in a straight up press man type of situation like a DeAndre Baker, you're going to get a pretty darn good corner. He's one of the guys that I wouldn't say he will turn out to be one of the best corner in this draft, but he has the ability to be one of the better corners to come out in this draft. Then we're going to go to Amani Oruwariye from Penn State. I don't know how to say his last name. It really doesn't matter. Long, instinctive corner with excellent hips and feet. But he has and good ball skills. But his worst traits is that he's a bad tackler, and he doesn't play with much strength. He's not a press guy. He's not a guy that, when it comes to shedding blocks or anything, he gets pushed around a lot. And for a guy his size, it's kind of weird to see that. But it kind of coincides with him not being a great tackler, too. Maybe he's just not as physical a corner. But with his instincts and his natural hips and feet and his ball skills, he should be one of the better corners. He has the chance to be the best corner in this draft because of his natural cover skills. But with him not being able to be a great tackler or being able to try to shed a block and hit the running back in the backfield or anything like that, he's just not that guy. So it is what it is. Julian Love, the next corner I'm going to talk about from Notre Dame, I thought he was inconsistent. He's an up and down player. When he's on, he's on. When he's off, he's off. If he was consistently doing all his good things, he's the best corner in this draft class. But because he is a guy that can't really keep that consistency of always being at the right place, always sticking to his man really, really well, and everything like that, because of those situations, he can never be the best corner in this draft class. He has to clean up a lot of that stuff, and coaching will help him try to clean that up. But if he gets to that point, like I said, he will be the best corner in the draft class just purely based off of that. But he got all the skills in the world. He just needs to put it all together. Then we're going to talk about Rock Ya-Sin from Temple. I love Rock Ya-Sin. He prevents little separation. He's aggressive. He's quick-footed. He has ball skills, and he always looks back. One of my biggest pet peeves is the cornerbacks that never look back at the ball to see if it's going to come. And that, that leads to knocking down passes and also leads to interceptions. If you can look back, you can see where the ball is at, and you can kind of body position your way of pushing the receiver out the way and catching the ball yourself. That's what I love about Rock Ya-Sin, is his aggressiveness, and with him preventing a little separation as in the man-to-man coverage. Those are the greatest things that you're going to like about him. Sometimes he can be a little bit over-aggressive, like in his tackling and stuff like that, but and just him being a little handsy. But overall, he is a really, really good corner that I think any team, any system will love to have him, because he shows the type of fight and the type of energy that you'll want from a cornerback from any system within the NFL. Next, we're going to talk about Joejuan Williams from Vanderbilt. Joejuan Williams prevents a little separation, just like a Rock Ya-Sin, but he needs to get his head turned around more. He's the opposite of Rock Ya-Sin when it comes to looking back at the football. He doesn't do it, and that causes for big plays to be happening against him, and even pass interference situations that could happen, because just like Rock Ya-Sin a little bit, even though he's a little bit more, he's like very, very handsy, and he's real physical like Rock Ya-Sin, but Rock Ya-Sin is not as handsy as Joejuan. Joejuan is really, really handsy, and maybe the 40 time has something to do with it. Maybe he has to be physical, just like when I talked about DeAndre Baker. Maybe they just have to be physical, be able to slow down a receiver, because they don't have the best speed in the world, but he needs to work on that, or that's going to really cause for a lot of situations where he's going to get called for PI, and he ain't going to make it in his lead longer if he keep on getting called for PI passes. Next on the list is Lonnie Johnson from Kentucky, more of a zone corner. I thought I would be impressed by his tape, and I wasn't. He's not a great tackler. He takes really bad angles. He's got okay ball skills, but he's inconsistent when it comes to his ball skills. Sometimes you'll see the pass break up, or you'll see an interception here or there, but other times you'll see him and he can't find the ball at all. And for him just to be a zone corner, one of the best things that he has to be able to do is to read a quarterback's eyes and find the football, and he just doesn't do that. And he's one of those guys that's going to be a height, weight, speed guy. People are going to draft him because of his height, his weight, or his speed. But he's one of those guys. He has a lot of things that he has to work on. He has skill and he has size, but he has a lot of things he needs to work on if he's going to make it in the NFL. Next on the list, we're going to talk about David Long from Michigan. David Long is honestly one of my favorite corners to watch in this draft. For a guy that's not considered to be one of the top corners in this draft, I'm very, very surprised. He's a very solid cornerback. When it comes to man, zone, press, it doesn't matter. He can do it all, and he's a really, really solid tackler. It's kind of crazy. He was a guy that kind of moved around a lot more. You saw him in the nickel a little bit. You saw him on one side of the field. You saw him on the other side. So he's a guy that he's naturally he'll move around. But I don't know what it is about why he's not rated higher than where he's at. With his skill set, with him being able to do everything, he should be rated really, really high. And he's just, there isn't like he's inconsistent. It isn't like, I don't know what it is about him that doesn't put him up there. Maybe he had something to do with him playing at Michigan, and maybe him not being the best corner on that team, or something. Something went wrong. But I just know I really, really like what I saw on tape, and I think he's going to be a really, really good player when he gets to the NFL. Do your job, a do-it-all type of guy. Next on the list, I'm going to talk about Justin Layne, natural boundary zone corner. Probably fit more for I think he can be in a cover 2 and a cover 3. Can be handsy. Sometimes he gets hands. He has really, really quick feet, which is a plus. He has okay hip flexion. He doesn't open up his hips as good. And he gives up the inside move. He gives up the move on the inside way too much. So like on slant routes and deep in-cut routes and stuff like that, he gives up too much room. Like, he kind of lets the guy plant that foot and go. And instead of trying to take away the inside, he gives them the inside. As a corner, you should be giving them the outside so that the quarterback has to make a more difficult throw. You keep on giving these guys the inside, it's not going to work as much. And I like what he can do. I like what he can be. I like the way he drives on the football and different stuff like that. But he needs to learn how to not give up the inside and keep a guy on the outside, and being a straight up, I'm going to push you to the sideline corner, like what DeAndre Baker would do from Georgia. And one of his other good traits that I saw is that he times up his blitzes pretty well. So that's another like extra plus that he has as a player. Now we're going to there is these group of guys that I will put rated very similarly. Jamel Dean from Auburn, Sean Bunting from Central Michigan, and Isaiah Johnson from Houston. Those three guys, they are tall players, long players. They kind of just remind me of each other in terms of like they have a lot of cornerback to learn. There's inconsistencies with them, and those are the guys that are literally height, weight, speed guys that you have to train up to being better players within the NFL. They have skill set. They have I think the work ethic to being that type of guy, to possibly being a shutdown corner within their career. But they have a lot of work to do, and they're just put up there mainly because of just straight up the look and the athleticism. That's just what it is. Michael Jackson from Miami. I thought he was a solid player. I thought there was some good things here, bad things there. It wasn't the best tape, but it definitely wasn't bad tape. And actually, his tape was better than the last three guys that I talked about, and Jamel Dean from Auburn, Sean Bunting from Central Michigan, and Isaiah Johnson from Houston. His tape was just a little bit better. Then we're going to talk about these last two guys that I want to put out there, Chris Boyd and Hamp Chevers. Chris Boyd, didn't like him at all, thought he was kind of trash. It is what it is. Honestly, the only reason I actually watched him is because I do like the Texas University. I do like that team. So I had to keep my eye out on a guy like Chris Boyd, and he wasn't that good at all. But Hamp Chevers from Boston College, I just want to say this. Boston College actually had a pretty good secondary that came out this year. Lucas Dennis, Will Harris, and now you got Hamp Chevers. Both of those are safeties, Hamp Chevers being the corner. I think he was the leader in interceptions this year for all corners. I 6, 7, I think it was like 7 or 8 or 9 interceptions or something crazy like that. And he's the type of dude that he was a big interception guy this year, and I believe he was a big interception guy his previous years as well. I only actually watched about a game and a half on him, and what I saw from him is that it was nothing really special about him particularly. It's just a lot of times he was at the right place in the right time. And the reason that I want to say his name is because if he does become a ball hawk within the NFL, I just want to say he showed it within college for what he did, especially in his last year. So that was the last name on my list. I thank all of you guys for watching. These were the top cornerback prospects in the 2019 draft. Once again, this is Draft Raw Authentic. Goodbye.